Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we get straight to what matters. Today, we're looking at the Certified Ethical Hacker, version 13, CEH v13.
Yeah, and this is really for you if you've, got some IT security basics already. Maybe a CompTIA security plus AA or some sysadmin time, and you're thinking, okay, offensive security, pen testing, red teaming, that sounds interesting. Well, this is your guide.
Exactly. We're basically laying out a roadmap, step by step, for people who aren't starting from absolute zero, technically speaking, how to prep for and pass the CEH v13.
And it's really important to get this. V13 isn't your old school cert, it's changed.
Yeah.
The practical exam especially means you have to show you can do this stuff.
Right. Not just memorize terms.
Definitely not. Knowing definitions just won't cut it anymore.
Okay, so if you've got those tech skills already, why CEH v13 specifically? What's the real value here?
Well, there are a few big reasons. First, it's vendor neutral. That's huge.
Meaning it applies anywhere, basically.
Pretty much. It's recognized globally, not tied to like Cisco or Microsoft tools. Second, it gives you a really solid grasp of the core methods used in offensive security.
So the kind of stuff you'd actually do in a red team or pentest job?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Or even threat hunting. It builds that foundational knowledge.
And that foundation, it helps with getting jobs, I assume.
Absolutely. It gives you the language, the vocabulary, and honestly, the credibility.
Yeah.
When you're in an interview, you can talk the talk.
Ah.
You can explain offensive concepts clearly. You'd be surprised how many technically sharp people struggle just because they can't articulate, the standard attack phases or tool functions using industry terms. CEH fixes that.
Right. So for you listening, the main point is your existing skills. They count. They're a launch pad. We're just going to connect those skills to what CEH v13 demands.
Exactly. No need to feel like you're starting over.
Yeah.
And the very first step on this path, you got to know the terrain.
Which brings us neatly to step 1. Master the CEH blueprint.
This is non-negotiable. You absolutely have to start here. Go to the EC Council website. Download the CEH v13 exam blueprint.
Okay.
Think of it as your syllabus.
Yeah.
Your map of the battlefield. Your training plan, essentially.
So what's actually in this blueprint? What kind of topics are we talking about?
It covers, well, everything the exam might touch on. Starts with fundamentals like InfoSec principles, ethical hacking overview.
26.
Yeah, the groundwork. Then it gets into reconnaissance, how you gather info, system hacking, web application hacking, which is huge. And also wireless, mobile, IoT hacking, even cloud security concepts. It's pretty comprehensive.
Wow, okay. That sounds like a lot. How do you prioritize? Or do you just have to learn it all equally?
No, definitely not equally. That's a key strategy point. You need to focus your energy.
Right.
Based on exam weighting and, frankly, real-world pen testing, some areas are just more critical.
Yeah.
You want to spend extra time on, say, scanning networks.
Like with Nmap.
Exactly, Nmap scans. Then gaining access techniques, vulnerability analysis, finding those weaknesses, and definitely web app attacks.
Web apps seem to come up a lot.
They really do. Historically, they're a big chunk of both the multiple choice questions and the practical challenges. Makes sense. They're everywhere.
So the strategy isn't just reading the whole thing.
Not at all. Be proactive. I always tell people, print it out. Physically print the blueprint.
Okay.
Go through it section by section and be honest. Highlight the stuff where you feel weak, where you lack hands-on time.
Mark your gaps.
Yes, then build your study schedule around that. Use the blueprint as your guide, your personal training program. This week, focus on this week area. Next week, tackle that one. Structure is key.
Okay, blueprint mastered, or at least we have a plan based on it. Step 2, then, is actually learning the material. Choosing the right training path for someone who's not a total beginner.
Exactly. Since you've got some background, you don't need purely introductory stuff. Forget the courses that just define terms you probably already know.
So look for more depth.
Depth and context. Real-world examples. Labs you can actually do.
Yeah.
Scenarios that feel like real tasks. You need the how and the why.
Makes sense. Any specific recommendations, resources you like for this intermediate level?
Yeah, there are some good ones. TryHackMe has a specific CEH path. It's very hands-on, kind of gamified, which people seem to like.
Interactive, yeah.
Then there's the official EC Council iClass training. It's thorough, includes labs, but it can be pretty pricey. Just putting that out there.
Good to know. Budget options.
Definitely. Platforms like INE, Cybery, TCM Security often have great courses, often more affordable, and they usually have solid labs too.
Okay. What about books? Still relevant?
Surprisingly, yes. Matt Walker's CEH All-in-One Guide. Even though it's been around, the core concepts are still solid for V13.
Really?
Yeah, but with a caveat, you absolutely have to supplement it, especially for the newer stuff.
Ah, okay.
You'll need extra material for the latest cloud security and IoT topics covered in v13. Can't rely only on the book.
That sounds like a lot of choices, though. How do you avoid getting overwhelmed trying to use everything?
Good question. Don't try to do it all. Pick one main resource for the theory, like video lectures or the book,
Okay.
and one main platform for your hands-on labs. Trying to mix and match 5 different things usually just leads to confusion and burnout. Keep it focused.
Makes sense. One theory, one lab, and a key tip here.
The absolute most important thing, make sure whatever you choose is specifically for CEH v13.
Right, because it changed.
Significantly,
Yeah.
especially from v10 or v11. The focus on cloud, IoT, even some operational technology stuff.
Yeah.
It's different. Using old v11 materials alone, big mistake. You'll miss key areas.
Got it. Prioritize v13 resources. Okay, so we have the blueprint. We've picked our training. Step 3 must be getting our hands dirty with the tools.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
Moving from knowing about the tools to actually using them.
Because just listing them isn't enough for the exam or the job.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Especially for the practical. You have to be comfortable running them, interpreting the output, knowing when to use which tool.
So what are the must-knows? The essential toolkit for CEH.
Okay, the essentials. First, Nmap. Absolutely fundamental for scanning, finding hosts, open ports, figuring out operating system.
Network mapping, yeah.
Then for web stuff, Micto and Durbuster. Great for finding hidden files, directories, common web vulnerabilities.
Okay.
Metasploit framework, that's a big one. Exploits, payloads, post-exploitation. It's powerful.
The classic.
Then Burp Suite. If you're doing any web app testing, you need Burp Suite for intercepting traffic, messing with requests. It's the standard.
Right.
For password attacks, Hydra for online brute forcing, John the Ripper for offline cracking. Need to know both types. And finally, Wireshark. Can't forget packet analysis. Seeing the raw network traffic is crucial sometimes.
That is quite a list. How do you practice with all of those effectively?
Best way, get Kali Linux, download it, run it in a VM like VirtualBox or VMware.
Because it has the tools pre-installed.
Exactly. Most of these and many more are already there. Saves a ton of setup time. Then crucially, build a lab.
Your own practice range?
Precisely. Either a home lab with vulnerable virtual machines or use cloud labs if your training provides them. The key is practice. Use the tools in sequence.
Like, scan with Nmap, find a vulnerability.
Yes. Then maybe try to exploit it with Metasploit. See how the tools work together.
It's not just running commands blind, then.
Absolutely not. That's the biggest mistake. You need to understand what a command is doing. What information is Nmap actually giving you? Why did that Metasploit module work? It's about understanding the process, not just typing.
That understanding piece seems key. Which leads us right into step 4. Labs. You said labs, labs, labs. Why so much emphasis?
Because that's where the understanding solidifies. Especially with CEH having hands-on questions now, and the practical being entirely lab-based. Theory is one thing, doing it under pressure is another. Consistent lab work is non-negotiable.
Okay, so where should people focus their lab time? Any specific platforms you recommend beyond the course integrated ones?
Yeah, definitely. Try HackMe. We mentioned their CEH path, but their pre-security path is great too, just for fundamentals.
Okay.
Hack the Box Academy. Really good structured learning. Maybe start with their beginner track if you need a refresher, then move to offensive pen testing.
Gotcha. What about web-specific stuff?
For web apps, honestly, nothing beats the Portswigger Web Security Academy. It's free, it's comprehensive, covers the EOS top 10 like crazy with practical labs. Fantastic resource.
Wow, free is good.
And don't forget local setups. Download DVWA Damn Vulnerable Web Application or Metasploitable Webcode. Run these VMs locally.
So you can just attack them freely.
Exactly. Safely, legally, in your own controlled space. You could break things, try weird stuff, really experiment without consequences.
Well, when you're doing these labs, what's the real goal? Just getting root or admin access?
That's often the challenge goal, yes. But it's not the learning goal, if that makes sense.
Explain that.
Getting root is great, feels good, but the real value comes from documenting how you got there, step by step. What tool did you use? What command? What was the output? Why did it work?
Ah, like you're writing a report as you go.
Precisely. Treat every lab like a mini penetration test. Note down your process, your findings, the vulnerabilities. Understanding the what and the why of each step is far more important than just racing to the end flag. That's how you actually learn ethical hacking.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, skills are getting sharp from labs. Now we need to think about the actual exam day. Step 5. Practicing the exam and getting the right mindset.
Right. Shifting gears now to focus on the test itself. You need to know the format, the timing, and how to handle the pressure.
So the format again, multiple choice.
The main CEH exam, yes. Okay. 125 multiple choice questions. You get 4 hours.
4 hours, 125 questions. That's less than 2 minutes per question.
Roughly, yeah. You need to be, if it can't get bogged down on any single one for too long.
So how do you practice that specific format and timing?
Practice exams are key. Dedicated ones. Bosun's CEH practice exams are really well regarded. They mimic the style and difficulty pretty well.
Bosun, okay. Any others?
Exam topics is another place people look for questions, but be a little cautious there. Sometimes user-submitted stuff can have errors. Use it as supplementary maybe, but verify things.
Good tip. And when using these, just blast through questions.
No, be strategic. Track your scores, obviously, but also track your confidence on each question and which blueprint domain it falls into. See where your weak spots really are under pressure. And, crucially, take at least 2 full-length timed mock exams. Simulate the real 4-hour experience.
So pressure.
Exactly. Get used to the clock ticking.
What about after you finish a practice test? Just check the score.
No. The review is maybe the most important part. Go through every question you got wrong. Don't just look at the right answer. Figure out why you got it wrong. Understand the concept you missed.
Right, yeah.
That's where the learning happens.
Right. And for people aiming for the CEH Practical, that's different practice, right?
Totally different. For practical, you need to practice solving those lab challenges within the time limit, which is 6 hours for that one.
6 hours. Wow.
So you need to simulate doing a full attack chain recon, scanning, exploitation, post-exploit, again to set of machines under the clock. Practice labs are essential, but timed practice runs are key for the practical.
Makes sense. And you mentioned mindset earlier. How important is that?
Hugely important. Avoid the last-minute panic cramming. It rarely works well.
So what's the alternative?
Structure. Have a plan. I like thinking of it in 3 sprints. Sprint 1, learn the material, the theory. Sprint 2, get hands-on, do the labs, build muscle memory. Sprint 3, drill the exam format, practice test, timing.
Learn, practice, drill.
Something like that, yeah. Trust the process. If you put in the structured work, you'll build confidence. Stick to your plan. Don't second-guess yourself constantly in the final weeks.
Good advice. Okay, so let's pull it all together. For someone with that IT or security baseline wanting to get CEH v13 certified, what's the condensed formula?
It really boils down to those 5 steps we walked through. 1, master that blueprint. Know your battlefield.
Okay.
2, choose focused training. Resources that match your intermediate level, emphasizing labs and real scenarios, not just definitions.
Right.
3, get truly hands-on with the core tools. Nmap, Metasploit, Burp, the essentials. Understand how they work. 4, labs. Practice consistently on platforms like TryHackMe, HTB, PortSwigger, or local VMs. Focus on documenting and understanding the why.
Critical step.
And 5, practice the exam format. Use timed mock tests like Boson, review mistakes thoroughly, and build that confident, structured mindset. Prepare for the practical with timed lab scenarios if you're going for that too.
That's a solid plan. It really sounds like getting the CEH is more than just passing a test.
Oh, absolutely. It's about developing that ethical hacker mindset, thinking like an attacker so you can defend better.
Understanding the offense to play better defense.
Exactly. And the certification itself, think of it as like a passport. It can open doors to really interesting roles: pen testing, red teaming, security engineering. Lots of possibilities.
Fantastic. Well, that was a really practical and I think very helpful deep dive into preparing for the CEH v13. Thanks for breaking it down like that.
My pleasure. Hopefully it gives people a clear path forward. It's definitely achievable with focused effort.
Absolutely. It seems like the key is that structured approach and consistent practice.
Yes, that's pretty much it. Strategy and persistence.
All right. Well, that wraps up this deep dive. We really hope this gives you a solid roadmap if you're tackling the CEH v13. Keep learning, keep practicing those labs, and we'll catch you on the next deep